Hey friends, it's me, Dave Landau. After a long night on stage, I like to kick back with a captain's hat and a fine cigar and watch the Dennis and Andy show. These guys are huge nerds, but they're the kind that you actually want to hang out with. Enjoy them. I do.
Oh yeah, what is up everybody? It is Wednesday. It is 5 p.m. That means it's time for the Dennis and Andy show. Damn you. Gang signs are going to get us killed. I'm going to be walking on the street one day. Somebody's going to come up to me and go, I'm sick of seeing your buddy do those gang signs. Pop, pop, pop. And they're going to take me out because they can't get to you.
It's the Andorians. It's the only people that would take offense to the Vulcan live long and
there's only one thing I like to see when I see this is this.
Mork for Mork. That's what you're going to say. Nanu, nanu, shazba.
That's where I was going.
That's where I knew you were going with it.
That's where I was going. I will say, though, I always rock down to that intro. My daughter created it. I love the music. Speaking of music, I said last night the 7th time was the charm with the Kor-Drath video. I was wrong. It's the 8th time.
Why? Because during the professionals, they were on there. We had a lot of chats. Andy got to show the video, our t-shirt design, and we took a lot of your comments were in there talking about you guys really need metal music. You guys need the metal music. So we took it to heart, and we've been hard at work in the studio this afternoon putting together the new video. And boy, I think we nailed it.
So let's take a look at the new Kor-Drath video that's a little more metal.
Certified badass.
Damn, I wish I had long hair and I could shake my head and it would go all around.
So what do you guys think? If you like the new version, give us the thumbs up. Let you know. We listen to you.
That's
and
right.
I think it's better.
So let's say hi to people. Richie Dupe, hello. Val's in the house. Very Slayer-like. That is true. Survive Infinity, hello. Lots of people here. Sheldon Martin, welcome. Mr. Hunt, hi to you. I know what you're trying to do. Randy says scissors action. No, Mork for Mork. Mork. Marcus is in the house. Adam Miller, hello. Lots of people in the house, but
we have a guest.
We have a guest, and we don't want to keep him waiting. You know, he got up early.
He did. He's all the way from Australia, and I'm going to give shouts to Val Schnitzel, who's on our stream right now, one of our wrenches. He got me turned on to Michael Bancroft's channel, and I have been watching him ever since. So this is my first time actually meeting Michael in person, so let's bring him on.
Let's do it. Well, hello.
Hello.
Are you ever sick of us Americans saying the only thing we can say in Australian, which is crikey? It's early over there.
Crikey. Crikey. Crikey is the we love our Steve-O, and he's the closest thing we have. Him and he's gone, but his family, they're the closest thing we have to royalty down here. So no, I like it. Crikey is good.
Do people actually say crikey down there?
No, he's the only one. It's his catchphrase. But it was like Paul Hogan before him, spreading around the word of the shrimp on the Barbie. It's like he's the only one who ever said it. But it's good. We do not shy away from this spreading the cultural love thing. Like I know so many others do. You want to like just think of us as larrikin, funny, weird guys who live upside down land. That's good. Do it.
So do you like Outback Steakhouse?
Never been. We don't have Outback Steakhouse. Unfortunately,
you mean they're not everywhere down there?
They're not everywhere. When I go to the States, I'm planning on coming next March for MegaCon. I hope I can visit an Outback Steakhouse and finally eat a bloomin' onion.
Well, now that I know you're coming for MegaCon, we'll have to definitely see if we can get down there too. So.
Yeah, excellent. Should be a
we missed it this year. We had another convention the exact same time, so hopefully next year.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And if we meet up, we will buy you that bloomin' onion.
Oh yeah,
thank you,
treat.
And I will get you a Foster's to wash it down.
I was just gonna say because you call that a beer. What's all beer for Australian? Or what was it in knife? It was you call that a knife?
Foster's, that's not a beer. This is a beer right here. I've even got the sign, Victoria Bitter, VB. That's what we drink. Well, that's what I drink. Now, some Australians might disagree. It's a harsh drink. It's a real man's beer. It's a working man's beer.
So is it a dark beer? Is it what kind is it? I'm a stout
draft.
Guy, so if you can see through it, I don't like it.
You can. Yes, it is.
It's
like the amber nectar. It's the amber nectar. Yeah, it's not heavy. It's hot down here. We want something that you can slam down in summer.
You don't want to be drinking freaking 10W40 motor oil. That's gross in the heat, Dennis.
I know. You worry about your Shirley Temples. I'm good with mine.
Oh, that's not true. I mean, every now and then they I like to kick back. Just saying. So, well, very nice. Well, thank you for getting up so early. I actually checked with my Amazon digital assistant. I don't want to say her name to see what time it was down there right before you came on. So
yeah. No, look, it's not too early. I like to get up early and draw, before the kids wake up. So I actually slept in this morning, but that's okay. I'm here, ready, fresh. Let's do it.
All right. Last question about the area. Is it light out yet? Or is it still dark?
It's light. It's light. We're heading into summer. So it's starting, it's longer days. Lighter out earlier, lighter later. Yeah.
And we are leaving summer behind, unfortunately.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So one of the things we always like to do, especially since it's your first time on our channel, is we like to find out and ask you about your origin story. How did you get into comic books? Like, what was your first comic book that you picked up as a kid? And how did you get into doing comics?
That is so funny. I'm so used to telling this story. I usually have it on hand. I don't know if I do. I had it here. I was talking about it not too long ago, which is such a shame. But I usually actually have the comic.
Oh, nice!
Sitting nearby that I picked up off the newsstand. I mean, it's probably lying around here somewhere, but I don't know where it is. Unfortunately, it was a Web of SpiderMan. I think it was number 83. Yeah. Maybe. Can't really remember. But I just picked it up off the newsstand. All my friends, I was 11 or 12. All my friends were reading comics. So I thought, well, I better go in, get in on this bandwagon. Remember that when all the kids were reading comics?
Yeah.
And you just go down to the newsstand and pick one up. And we had what we call a news agency, which is like a big shop, magazines, newspapers, books, comics at the time. They had a massive section of comics. And, I just went, I picked up the one that a character I had heard of before, SpiderMan, and that looked coolest to me. And it was that book. And I was like, yeah, this is cool. I read through it. Like, this is awesome. Back in those days, the paper was still newsprint. The colors were mostly just flats with very little kind of special effects or anything like that.
Yeah.
I didn't look back. I read mostly Spider-Man, a little bit of Ghost Rider. When Spawn came out, I picked that off the newsstand as
So
well.
wait, was that
was
Web
just
of
like
Spider-Man? Was that late 80s?
early 90s, so like
Early
91.
90s, okay.
Yeah, so I kind of had missed McFarlane on Spider-Man.
Okay.
But yeah, so I first learned about him on Spawn and then went back and bought trades and everything. And I ended up going back and buying almost the complete run of Peter Parker, obviously all the run of Webb, and a lot of Amazing as well. But yeah, I read them until probably about 15-ish, I think, 16. I don't know, up until the floor fell out underneath Marvel. And but they were already skating on thin ice with me. They were like forcing me to buy all these different comics that I didn't want to buy just to keep up with the stories. And that was difficult for me because obviously I was just a kid and I was saving up. I was walking to school so I could save up bus money to buy these comics monthly. And that was sort of the end of it. But I kind of fell out of it. And I was reading comics and I was collecting comics here and there, not very seriously. And eventually, many years later, fast forward to me in my, I think I was in late 20s or 30s. My wife is French.
Oh,
and I started finding these. These are bande dessinées, BDs, as they're called, French album comics.
That's what I say. Well, I think everything in France, England, Italy, wherever, they're just called albums. They don't call them comics,
Exactly. Exactly right. It's a completely different approach. And I just became hooked. And I was actually writing a story at the time, which eventually would become the Lucent. And I was like, for the first time, I was like, could I actually turn my story into an album like that, a graphic novel? And
the thing I like about the albums, and that's what I kind of try to tell people over here with what we're doing, is it's kind of like what we're doing. We're putting something out basically once a year, and it's obviously a lot thicker than just the floppy that you get, monthly. It's better production quality and stuff. And generally you work, either you do the whole thing yourself or you might work with one other person, and it really is that European model. And it's funny, we were talking on Ethan's show one Monday night, and, you always hear the thing of going, oh, well, Marvel, DC comics over here, they're only like $5. You guys are selling them for $25. Well, besides the fact the page count is triple, if not more, and it's a nice square bound and production quality and stuff. The other thing I like to say is, and I can go to McDonald's and pay $1.50 for a hamburger, or I can go to a nice restaurant and pay $15-20 for a hamburger. That's a hell of a lot better. Yeah. And that's what we
think. That's the thing. I had Kelsey Shannon on a few months back, and we were just geeking out over this because he's a massive fan of the French books as well. Yeah. And I agree that, and I don't want to put down anyone who draws monthly comics or anything like that.
No,
but it's just logistically, if you're spending a year or even longer making these, 50, 60, 70-page books, and you can just see that they're doing things in these books that you just can't do with the time constraints that the companies will give you to put out a monthly floppy. So and I'm all for that. That's what I'm about. That's what I like. That's what pulled me back into this comic book world. And when I got there, I found your boy Zach, I found Ethan, I found everyone in Comicsgate, and sort of been really back into it since. That happened in kind of 2017. So it's funny. I've come back full circle to what I was interested in when I was a kid, even though I had a big 15-year hiatus in the middle of it. I was still reading the odd comic, but mostly just things I knew I could just pick up and read, and like Star Wars stuff, because the characters and everything like that. But I was mostly out of comics for a very long time, so it's great to be back.
No, that's cool. Just real quick, because you mentioned Star Wars. quick question: Star Trek, Star Wars, which one?
I had this question. We would ask this question the other day at the dinner table. I can't do it. I can't do it. I love both.
yeah,
I've
absolutely.
got Mr. Star Trek here off camera, sitting over here doing stuff. Is my daughter, who is Mrs. Star Wars, and I was waiting for you to pick one so I could either bust on him or her. Now,
I was a monumental Star Wars fan growing up. It was the first movie I was ever taken to as an infant in 1980. That's when Empire Strikes Back hit the cinemas here in Australia. And I was, my mother was a massive Star Wars fan. She took me there as a baby. My first memories, it was just like Star Wars, everything, Star Wars clothes. We would watch Star Wars religiously, all the toys and everything. I mean, it was a massive part of my life. I grew up, I read dozens and dozens of the extended universe books. But then in high school, a friend introduced me to this. And I've been hooked ever since. I love it, but it's just different. I mean, that's like saying, what do you like? Two classic things. Just because they're set in space doesn't mean they have to go against each other. One is science fiction, the other is a fantasy set in space, and I think there's room enough for both.
Well,
absolutely.
I know, and there's a lot more. There's Battlestar Galactica, Lost in Space. I mean, there's so many more.
The Expanse,
Orville,
Babylon 5.
I don't know if you watched the Orville, but the Orville is really good.
I love the Orville.
Yeah.
Yep.
This past season was just great.
Oh, it's so good. I think I need to make a video on the Orville. I really love that Seth MacFarlane must have tricked some studio head in saying, hey, we're making a Star Trek parody. And then literally 3 or 4 episodes in, you realize, oh, no, we're just making Star Trek that, no one's making anymore. But with their all new characters.
Well, they actually were talking about it. It started out as Family Guy in Space, which is what everybody teased about. But they realized that they could put out such good stories that they started, probably by 3rd or 4th episode, they started pulling back on the comedy and started putting forward better science fiction, and it continued. And even this season, it was they relegated the comedic factors to 2 characters, and they were great, but they were just such solid sci-fi stories, very much like the original Star Trek was.
Yeah. You sit at the end of an episode, and they're quite long episodes. Some of them are even almost movie length. You just sit there like, you kind of been hit in the gut, and you're like, you're having some moral conundrum in your head, and you're thinking it through. And was that right? Was that wrong? What are the ramifications of this? Is this something that we're going to have to deal with in the future if the technology advances? I mean, this is science fiction. That's what it should be.
But then they still touch on stuff that is going on, commentary about stuff today, like with Bortus and the kid, and how,
I think that was
baby.
The way they did that was really brilliant.
It was. And they carry it from season to season. So you had to have at least watched it to fully grasp it. But they wrote them very well. The writing is just so incredibly well done on that show.
Yeah.
The only thing I have to say bad about it is Seth MacFarlane has a very weird face. And every time he's on the camera, I'm like, they have actors for a reason. And I know he's a voice actor. He's very talented.
Yeah.
But it's just like, I don't know. There's something about his face. But I get past it.
He's I'm not one to talk, but it's not like he's leading man, good looking, but he's not ugly or anything.
No, he's not ugly at all. He just has an unusual face.
Right, he has an unusual face, and I think part of it's like the hairline and stuff.
His eyes. Yeah.
His eyes.
He had to go from, because he was comedic in the first few, and he's relegated himself now that he has to be the stern, serious captain. And the problem is we look at him as the comedic jokester all the time. So it's very hard for us to put him into that role.
I saw a comment in the chat there. Someone asked if I used to draw comics. I did. I used to I used to like copy Mark Bagley, I can't remember how to say his name.
Yeah, actually, that was
draw,
that was
like,
another question we were going to get to, is favorite artists, growing up and stuff.
little Spider-Mans. Yeah, I mean, I was obsessed with Bagley's Spider-Man. I thought he was really rad. Everyone loved Todd McFarlane. Now that I'm a bit older, I'm more into sort of the more Bronze Age stuff. When I look back on comics, that stuff really, I'm in awe of what they were doing.
Oh yeah,
and the visual language of it all. So yeah, that's sort of. But I was at the time, I remember, like I was just trying to I was just ripping off Jim Lee, trying to poorly. This is my character that I made, the Silver Star. I still got this. When did I draw this?
That's cool.
It's probably like in '93 or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. That's cool though. It's great. It's great to have that stuff.
I know. I'm happy I kept it all.
Bagley was the guy that won the Marvel tryout book contest. So.
Oh really? Yeah, that's cool.
You didn't know that?
Yeah, no, I didn't know that. I maybe I did back in the day, but I liked how he was like, he would draw this really ripped, skinny, muscular Spider-Man. I thought that was really, I don't know, it was really cool.
Well, the funny thing about it is it works because you just look at the current Spider-Man, Tom Holland. That kid's shredded, but when he's wearing normal clothes, you have no idea, right? So it totally works. Drawing like Bagley did, that totally shredded teenager, because when he's wearing normal clothes, you just be like, oh yeah, he's just a small teenager, So it really did work well. I mean, I've always liked Mark's stuff as well. I didn't find out until he was in the business for a few years that he was the winner of that tryout book contest. So.
One of the our guests are asking, who are your Bronze Age artists? Who do you like it from the Bronze Age?
I'm terrible with the names, and it's probably going to be just like Spider-Man artists. Who's the guy? He's like a legend. There was a father, Ramita, like stuff like that. That's my very earliest memories of Marvel comics was that style. And it's just sort of like that thing, it just hits you right in the nostalgia. And when I look back on the comics now, that's the stuff that I prefer more than, say, the early 90s Jim Lee, Silvestri sort of stuff, which I can rationalize. Like, that is awesome stuff and amazing work. But like, for me, just personally, I love more that. And when I went back and started collecting, my all-time favorite, and I don't know if this is more Silver Age, but either way, my all-time favorite era of comics was sort of like late 70s and into the 80s. Like, I thought that's when they got really cool. I think this is when they're at their coolest. So
I totally agree with you. That is my favorite. I'm an X-Men guy, so I like Spider-Man. I get Spider-Man, I used to. But X-Men has been mine. I've collected it. Well, I did collect them for 44 years until a few months ago, where I couldn't take it anymore, and I canceled all my Marvel and DC comics. I get nothing. It's all independent stuff now. But man, it broke my heart. But I look back at like the X-Men, even as a kid. I've been collecting them since the mid to slightly late 70s, and that really was the best stuff. That's what drew me in. And I love the 90s, but I'm telling you, late 70s, early 80s, for me, is my golden age.
It's funny, isn't it, that people, I came to that conclusion all on my own just by going back and reading back issues. A lot of people love that era as well. And there was just something in the air at that time. And the same thing was happening in movies and music. I hope one day we can get back to something like that. I mean, I think we're trying to do it here in independent comics, but we'll see how. We just don't have the reach that was seen to be afforded to really creative new artists back in the 80s. But we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, no, the first comics I bought were from 1983, and it was Captain America by Mike Zeck, and I still hold those in the highest regard. And that is just the Captain America for me. Like when Sal Buscema was drawing the Hulk in the 80s, that was my. And I love, don't get me wrong, I love what John Byrne did. I love what Dale Keown did. But when I was growing up, and Dale and I talked about this one day as well, and he was like, oh, yeah, Sal Buscema was like my guy. And,
he's another one.
Like, yeah, he just, he had such a long run on the Hulk, and he had such a nice visual to the character and stuff. So I hear you. What do we got here? What's Val saying? Andy and Dennis, did you hear about Michael's new concept? What is he talking?
COC.
Creator-owned comics. I just made an offhand comment. You know what happens on a live stream? I was talking to someone. I said, I was thinking out loud, and I said, look, you've got independent comics. That's what people say. Like, we're in indie comics.
Right.
And indie comics, it has lots of different, it's got baggage that gets attached with it when you say
it has connotations that go with it.
Exactly. And it's like, oh, it's good for an indie book, or it's an indie book, or something like that. And also as well, if you want to talk indies, I remember Dan Frager, when the first time I met him, he was telling me this horror story, how he'd worked so hard on a book for Image. And, it went out into the stores and people were raving about it. And that was, being talked about on the news sites and all that sort of stuff. And he sold, I don't know how many copies he sold. And at the end of the day, after everything was cut down, he made like, I don't know, $1,800 or something from the whole thing. And I was just like, that is tragic. But sure, okay, he and his partner, whoever he was working with, owns the IP, but they don't own Image. They're not in control of the distribution and everything like that. So just thought, like, when we say indies, it's such a broad range and it encompasses so many people doing so many different things. So I just said, how about we just call it creator owned, as in you're owning everything, like from the IP to the production to the distribution. You're getting it straight out to customers yourself. You're cutting out the middleman. And I just said that offhand, and Nefarious Global Frequency in the chat said, oh, so you love creator owned comics,
right?
COC.
Yeah.
And
you know what? It does. It has a nice ring to it. I mean, speaking of our time frame, back then it was when you had these off comics, they were underground comics. I mean, that's what it was. That was the underground mainstream stuff that you couldn't see in the stores. But that a bunch of us used to go out there and collect. But that also had a stigma to it because they thought it was dirty. And indie, you're right. A lot of people, if you say indie comics, are like, oh, low published stuff that's whoever
what I was
does.
say. You think indie, and a lot of people think, oh, low budget, stuff like that. That's the first thing that comes to mind. I mean, when I went to the Kubert school, Joe taught us how to do everything, pencil inking, lettering, coloring, the whole ball of wax, because he wanted you to get a job when you graduated. And his mindset was, if you get a job lettering, you work your way up, or, whatever. But it also went to, if you start off, drawing comics for a very small publisher, an independent publisher that has a really low page rate because they're so small, you do that until you work your way up. And, I remember telling them, yeah, I hear that, but I'm shooting for Marvel or DC when I graduate. That is my blinders on. That's what I'm shooting for. Nothing against the indies, but I wanted to just work at Marvel or DC so I could move out and live on my own and do all that. And, knock on wood, that happened. And I was able to do that in my senior year. But, you're right. Indie definitely has this stigma to it that you kind of have to reshape as we move forward. But I think it's happening with what we're doing.
I think so. And Randy makes a good point. He says, Image won me over to indies in the 90s. And when you were thinking of indies, that's when indies kind of became mainstream, in my opinion, is, when you had Image and then Dark Horse and Defiant, when shooters started coming out. And so anyway, that's, I think, the launch of it, and Image really had the staying power in that particular area.
Yeah, and as well, the way I was thinking is like, you're exactly right in that a lot of the time now, some of the best art we're seeing coming from the indies and not the mainstream, which is unusual. You wouldn't think it would be that way, but that's just the way it is these days. And there's sort of this, I don't know, there's kind of this war going on between the mainstream and the indies. Like it's like it has to be that way. The mainstream is just what's popular
right
at the time. That's what mainstream means. It's not like it's not like it's an institution and they own that title, and then over here there's the indies. It's like if your indie comic becomes super popular, hello, Ninja Turtles, Walking Dead, whatever it may be, Spawn, then you no longer are indie, even though you are independent. You are now mainstream, and it's all very confusing. I was like, it's creator owned, baby. It can be a guy who's making his first ever comic like me, just by himself, or it can be a guy who's 30-year industry vet who's doing the best art of his life and making all this super highly produced stuff. It's everyone. It encapsulates everyone.
Yeah, that's kind of a nice thing. I really like that. I actually like that whole concept.
What, creator owned comics?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, your favorite place to eat is Five Guys. So you like creator owned comics and you like Five Guys in your mouth. I get it, Dennis.
Yeah. I noticed how you said COC has a ring to it. Yeah, it can have.
It could have a ring, yes. What you do at home separate from
everybody knows, no matter what I say, you're going to twist this from a rated PG-13 show to something slightly more nefarious.
Hey, if this was PG-13, I'd be able to say fuck just once. Oh, I just did.
Just once. You get the one time.
Yep.
Toss. That's it. It's the one time rule. And there's no blood allowed. So when Dennis punches me, no blood will spurt out.
Don't worry, most of that's when the camera's off. Don't worry.
Yeah. No, most of it's internal bleeding.
So Dennis, go for the bread basket. Like low, keep it low under the t-shirt, and that way nothing will show up on camera.
There you go.
The bruises will be hidden by our shirts.
The hidden bruises. That's right.
Let's talk about your path to the Lucent. While we do that, we'll throw up your sign-up page, which, for everybody, the link is in the description below, so you can sign up for the new one, the Lucent, and tell us a little bit about the first one as well, and just the path that I guess you took to get to this.
Oh, man. So I started having insane dreams when I was, in my early 20s. I've always been big into lucid dreaming. And it just sort of picked up. And around about that time, The Matrix came out. Okay. And, it was all like you plug into this thing where you can do this crazy stuff. And it was just like a whirlwind in my head where I was having these crazy dreams. I was doing things like in The Matrix. And I just had this, I was just like, imagine you could do some of these things that we can do in our dreams in real life. I had that percolating in my mind for a long time. I always wanted to write a story. And eventually I just thought, you know what, screw it. I'm not getting any younger. I'm going to write a story. At this point, I wasn't even thinking about comics. Like I said, I was out of comics. I was doing other things. I just started writing a story. And I found out that was really hard. It took me a long time. Just doing it over many, many years in my lunch break, after work, before work, whatever. And so eventually I was in France. Like I said, I found these albums, these French albums, bande dessinées, and the story that I'd struggled with for so long, it just came into clear focus. And I was like, imagine this was a graphic novel, because a lot of what I was thinking, because I've always been an artist. I was doing like t-shirt designs and graphic designs and paintings and stuff like that. I never thought I could do this. But when I saw it, I was like, I think I have to try. I have to learn how to do comic book art. That is an ongoing struggle. It continues to this day. But yeah, that's how it.
Well, let me tell you, my friend, after doing it for 30 years, it is still an ongoing struggle.
I believe I've been doing it for about 5, and it is, yeah. I mean, every page is a new challenge for me, but I love it. I look forward to it because it helps me become better and better with each page. But
Sure. Let me grab this super chat real quick from Randy.
Yep, go for it.
Thank you, Randy. Speaking of fan clubs, for First Man, we had the First Maniacs. For Kor-Drath, we will be the Axe Maniacs. I like it.
I do. It's got a ring.
It's got a ring to it, Randy. We can definitely see about. I got to come up with something catchy, so that could be it. So thank you for that $5, Randy. Really appreciate it.
It's good. It's got a good visual idea to the Axe Maniacs.
The Axe Maniacs, and it has a nice sound to it. So anyhow, so yeah, dude. Seriously, every day when I draw, it's 30 years ago I thought, oh, this will be easier. Then yeah, it's not. And I think the different. I think for the guys that I'm sure there's some. Well, probably all of us say that it's still tough and whatever, but there's probably some guys out there that just sit down and can jam it out and just don't think twice. But I just can't do that. I mean, I have to. Yeah. I just beat myself up relentlessly.
Well, as well as you get better, what you used to think, oh, that looks really good, you realize, oh, that's actually got a lot of issues with it now.
Right.
So, like, you're continuously looking back and going, oh, well, I thought I had this down, and now I look at it, I'm like, no, that needs improvement. So it's like this bouncing thing that never ends. But the whole thing about it is, though, I always started off as, I just wanted to write this. I just wanted to tell this story. That was my whole, and still remains to this day. That is my driving, whatever it is, impetus on this thing. Is I have this story in me. I love this story. I'm so passionate about it. The characters in it are so real to me. And I'll just do whatever it takes to kind of get it out there. When I first decided I'm going to make a comic, I didn't know anything about the scene. I didn't know if there's even an indie comic scene in Australia. I didn't really even look into it. I just saw, oh, there's all these, like, people are putting up their comics onto webtoons and Sapastic and all this sort of stuff. So,
Yeah.
I guess I'll just do that, and I'll be able to get some feedback. I did that for a couple of years. I actually ended up being I had a really fantastic experience with it. I ended up getting like 25,000 subscribers to my comic. I was having really good interaction. It was really good to sort of bounce what was working off people who were actually reading it.
Yeah.
But then Comicsgate came around, and I was like, I think it's time for me to take the next step, because making comics for people, for likes and comments on the internet, is fun. It's a lot of work. You get no money for it. There's some people out there who do get a lot of money from it, but they're sort of making comics that I'm not interested in reading or making. They're sort of like romance comics, the manga style, that sort of stuff. I was never really interested in that. But I thought, all right, Comicsgate is here. I'm seeing these guys. It seems like a great opportunity for first timers to come in and crowdfund. Let's see how that goes. And yeah, I launched the first book, and it went so far above and beyond my expectations. The day I launched, my wife said to me, "What do you think?" I said, "I will be happy when this is all said and done if I have 100 backers."
Right.
And fast forward a year and a bit later, we had over 1,000.
Nice.
People gave me feedback on the book. Some people didn't get it, they didn't like it, but a lot of people really did. And that's the manna from heaven, is people really interested by the intrigue and the mystery. It's I've made the story sort of in a mystery box style, where I just drop the reader in. I don't tell them really, I don't explain how the world works, what the mystery is all about. They're just in there. It's a puzzle, which is confounding. A lot of people don't like that. I love that kind of storytelling. And now we're coming back with the second volume, which is going to be, it's a bigger book. It's 90 pages. My art has improved a lot. And there's just going to be so much more meat on the bone for people to sink their teeth into.
90 pages. What was your first one?
60 or 70, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, they're massive books. I don't know why I do it. I'm just like,
I think, excuse me. I think the reason we do the page counts we do is, for the reader. We want to give them this really good, satisfying story to read, knowing that, like albums, it'll probably be close to a year before another one comes out. And I think that when people get used to, like, when you tell somebody, hey, this book comes out every month, Spider-Man, you can get it every month, they get that in their mindset. And that's why when an issue's 3 or 4 weeks late, they're annoyed, because it's like, hey, you told me it was every month. But what we do is we say, look, it's going to probably be once a year. And if somebody knows what to expect and when to expect it, they're fine with it.
And the thing is, instead of just having something that's a continuous, all right, we know I'll read it, cliffhanger next month, read it, cliffhanger next month. This, we have a story to tell. Like you were saying, we've got a story. We want to go from A to Z, and we want the reader to see all of this in a self-contained unit. Get that one out there, and then next year, we're going to have another story to tell, but we want it to be complete. So maybe it'll be 60 pages to tell the story. Maybe it'll be 70 or 80. We're not limited to 32 or 28, and we can use whatever. Kind of like Orville. They're not limited to running 46-minute shows. They can do an hour and 18 minutes to tell the story if they need to. And it's just a better, nicer format to complete an idea.
And that's probably that was one of the biggest criticisms, which is completely valid, from the first book, Waking Dream, because I have, being that this is written in the mystery box style, you have to have the whole thing planned out, because I'm dropping hints and clues along the way. So I've got the whole thing written out. It's all there. But the first book, it kind of did end on a sort of a semi cliffhanger. It wasn't the complete story, which that annoyed people. And I completely understand that. So that's why in this one, I'm like, all right, I need to make it a little bit longer, because I want to give the readers that more satisfying conclusion. So even though it is an ongoing story, in Painted Death, essentially, the readers will get to see the main character. She's now fully ensconced in this world. She's in this strange, crazy world of the Lucent, and she has to make some choices. How far does she want to go? How far can she go? And what will be the consequences of her decisions? And we get to see all of that, and then that's like all in one book. And then hopefully the reader at that point, they feel satisfied that they've gotten a completed story, and now they want to continue on and see what happens next. So that's why I'm going this like 90-page behemoth.
And that's what you can do is, I don't think it's bad to have little plot things that'll flow over into the next volume of a book. But I think the overarching thing should probably wrap up. It's just like, it's like novels. James Patterson puts out, he put out like a novel a year with his main character, but while that main, and he does true crime stuff, or not true crime, but crime stuff. So while the main mystery would be solved, there'd still be these little plot things that he'd probably pick up in the next book, So you're satisfied, and you're tied it over until that next volume comes out.
In this book, in Painted Death, Ella, the main character, will have a run-in with the main villain of the book, so it won't be the big final battle between these two, where the villain is defeated, and it's like it's an ongoing. There's a conflict. There's consequences of those conflict, and then the story will continue in the later volumes until the ultimate confrontation and climax in the sixth book.
Right. Randy has a question for you. He says, can we still get the original cover for volume 1 of the Lucent when we order volume 2?
Excellent question, Randy. Let me actually stop sharing that, and let me share this here.
Okay.
which
Because I
is
definitely want to see the video as well. So
yeah, I will go back and play the video,
okay.
but I have about 15 of these left, Randy. So it all depends on how quickly these sell out, and how long it takes me to launch this thing. So I won't be reprinting this cover. Once they're sold out, there's about 15 left. That's it. They're done. I will be printing a like a reprint for the second campaign with an all new cover, and that's what I'll be doing. But there's still about 15 or so of these left. They're available. You can go to cgnow.net. That will take you. This link will take you through to my eBay store where I sell these things. So yeah, it depends. If I have any left, yes, it'll be on there. If not, I mean, if you really want this cover, and I think it's a it's got the I've got it here. It's got the UV spot over the puddle. Yeah. So that's the whole concept of it. She's like, is she falling? Is she flying? What's happening? She's coming. Are you looking into a mirror? Or like, it's all, if you've read the Lucent, it's all about like what is happening sort of thing. And that's reflected in the cover there.
So outside that cover, I'm assuming you have a different cover, like a second printing that you're going to offer in conjunction with it. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So that's what I will be working on pretty soon, actually, because it's time to start sharing them out. So I've still got to do the cover of of Painted Death, and then the new cover of Waking Dream.
Okay. Cool.
Nice. Let's pull this back up and let's watch the video.
All right. Let's click it.
You speak as though I have conquered death. I live death every day. I am surrounded by it, smothered by it. Look at you now. He would have everlasting life. You seek to defy death, yet you cannot even defy sleep. And our like sleep is to death. It is a painted death.
Nice.
I love that trailer.
Did you put that
it's a
together,
teaser.
or did you have somebody do it?
What's that?
Did you put that together yourself?
I put it together, the whole thing. Yeah, I did that. It is a painted death.
Wait a second.
I was going to ask if that was your voiceover.
It was me. Yeah, I mean,
Dude, I got to be honest. I was going to ask who did the voiceover, because you pulled that off great from the standpoint of I have no idea.
I whispered into the mic,
well?
and then oh man, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like when I started, I mean, you got no money, you got no one. Obviously, no one knows you, no one's interested in your book. I mean, you just start from nothing, and so I had to. I'm still teaching myself how to draw these things. I'm still teaching myself how to color, format, all that sort of stuff. Right, I've got an editor, thank God. My goodness, I need an editor. And put it all together. And I've taught myself how to do a bit of Adobe Animate and Premiere Pro and Audacity to do the things. I downloaded cinematic sound effects and music. It was a great package, cost me like $30. It's got all of this stuff in there, and I just made this trailer, and like it was exactly what I wanted it to be. This is the teaser trailer. It deals with the sort of historical side of it. That's the thing about this book is it's incredibly difficult for me to pitch because I cannot tell you what genre it is. Camel Moon, my very good friend, he says the Lucent is, imagine the Matrix had a baby with the Da Vinci Code. And I was like, yes, that's it. Is you got these people who were doing these weird powers, and it's kind of like you're tapping into some thing that is mysterious and everything like that. But at the same time, you've got this other story that's unfolding at the same time, which is, well, imagine if this had existed for thousands of years. People had access to these powers, and there's immortality mixed in there somehow. What world would they build? And what sort of secret societies would come about out of that? And like all this is sort of hidden in plain sight. It's just underground, underneath the surface. And how would that play out through history? This is all, and you remember in the Da Vinci Code, it was like they've kept the truth a secret for thousands of years. What the real story of the Holy Grail is. It's a lot. It actually functions a lot like that. Like, what's the real truth of our civilizations here, and how they were built and how they came about? And that's all intertwined with the whole thing, and the whole fun of the story, the fun side of it. I mean, I wouldn't call the Lucent a really super fun story. It is very, I play it very straight. It's like, it is a thriller, it's a mystery. Sure. But the fun of it in me, why I get so excited about it is giving the pieces of the puzzle out in that mystery, and then the readers come back to me with their theories, and that's the best. And when they get it right, I'm like, yes, I've done my job. Somehow they've pieced together these two things that didn't seem like they were connected, and they've figured something out, and I love it. I think
that's one of the fun things behind it is, as you being the creator, is you are weaving this tale, and you want them to piece it together. So when they do, it's like you said, you're validated. You're like, yes. And you don't want to make it too easy. But then at the same time, it might take somebody 2 or 3 reads, which is actually really cool, because it's almost more bang for your buck than just a straight, A to Z type story. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because if you read it and you don't get all those breadcrumbs, you're like, I got to read it again.
A lot of people did read it very sort of superficially. Okay, what's happening in the story? And you read it, and they're like, look, it's okay. Not really for me. Some people, though, want to read it again and again, and they start looking at the symbology I've put in there, the sort of the references to mythology and the little visual clues and stuff. And then they start thinking, there's really something going on here under the surface. Actually, there's multiple layers of it. What are the characters saying? What are they foreshadowing? That sort of stuff. And then, once you read Painted Death, you'll be able to go back and read Waking Dream, and so much of it that you just maybe thought were offhand comments, or didn't really have much significance. You realize, he was trying to tell us something there with that. Right. And that I love. I love it when authors do that, always have. And so that's what I'm really trying to go with this story. That's why it's absolutely essential for me to have an editor, because Joe, my editor, he's the one who's like, I know you like subtle, but this is beyond subtle. This is like, no one will ever find this in, you could have this book out for 100 years, no one will ever find it. Or he'd be like, this is too obvious. Let's pull that back a bit and make it a bit more mysterious. And I need that, because I'm too close to the story. I can't see the forest for the trees. He's sort of standing back. He can see the whole thing outside of the creator's eye. And
no, that makes total sense. I mean, it's good to have that other set of eyes on it that can be objective and stuff to look at it and give you those notes. I think it looks really cool, man. I wish you the best. When are you launching it? Like, how long have you had the sign up up?
Man, a long time. I wish I could answer that. Now, here's the thing. I'm in a sort of how can I say this? Like, my channel is growing. I'm getting lots of signups and everything. I am really excited for the future of being a comic book creator in this space. But at the same time, I'm still very much, I have a full-time job. I work 9 to 5. I'm doing this before I go to work, after I come back from work. I do my live streams in my lunch break. I still have maybe a foot and a half, well and truly placed still in the real world.
Right.
So the reason I say this is I never know day to day how much time I'll have to
Sure.
work on this, which makes it incredibly difficult for me to schedule anything.
Dude,
And,
I gotta, that's very commendable that you're pulling down the 9 to 5. You're doing the work early, and then when you get home, I didn't know when you did. I've been on your show a few times, of course, and it's 11 p.m. my time. So knowing that it's on your lunch break, I'm like, oh crap, that's awesome.
It's the only way to do it. Like I saw what, I listened to what John said back in 2018. He was like, you got to get out there, build up your own audience.
Right.
I suggest that you're doing exactly the same thing here on your channel. Everyone needs to do it. We can't rely on someone else for the success of our careers. We have to be responsible for ourselves and go out there and get it. Like I wish I could tell you. The thing is, I want to have really the lion's share of the work done before I go live because of that. Last time I did overshoot my projected shipping date by a couple of months. There were some printer issues, sure, but it really came down to me. Like 90% of it was me just not really knowing how much work it goes into actually making a printed comic book. It's an insane amount of work, and especially if you've got like you're working with an editor and there's like that doesn't look good, you need to fix that, or that we need to rewrite this part, that sort of stuff. Like I wish I could tell you, and I want to really like hype it up. I want to really hype up the launch, give it a good month or so beforehand. I'm gonna go out onto a bunch, just like do this, go on a bunch of different streams and really hype it up. But watch this space, and I'm cognizant that it is taking a long time for me to launch this, so that's why I'm doing a lot of draw streams where you can come and actually watch me work on this stuff, whether it's colors, flats, drawing, whatever, on my channel. So
that's cool. No, dude, that's really cool. I think it's going to do really well. Before we go, what does Michael like to do for fun? Not when he's working and stuff down there. What do you do, man?
Fun? What? Man, I used to be into so many things. This comic stuff has really taken over my life. Let me tell you what I love, what some of my passions were I not so focused on comics. I am an avid poker player. I used to play professionally for a couple of years. But I decided to give that up to pursue comics. Look, I'm a family man. I'm just happy with the wife and kids. One of the funnest things we did a month ago is we had a movie night here in the house where the kids got like mattresses out in the living room and we watched a movie together and we had popcorn and everything. I'm like, I didn't need anything else than that. I'm like,
no, that's cool.
Go out and do anything else. So yeah, that's my life. But I love having fun on YouTube as well. Like I look forward to that. Camel's here. We play video games on YouTube, and I enjoy Comicsgate.
He enjoys counting. Does I say taxes? With me and my coach.
Yeah, that's what Camel calls his super chats and memberships. His taxes. He's collecting taxes.
Well, I hope that, since Camel's watching, I'd like to come on your channel, Mr. Camel Moon, sometime. So throw that out. And of course, Michael, once we launch Kor-Drath, I'd love to come back on yours as well.
Oh, absolutely. So. Yeah, no, it looks really good. This is going to be an exciting month, September and October. Start of October. And lots of good stuff.
So, man, you used to play. So, like I'm awful at poker. So you know, like all the different types of games and stuff, or are you just like specifically one play?
Oh, look, I'm mostly, the standard Hold'em. I've played a little bit of PLO, but no, look, I'm pretty good at it. Playing tournaments and cash games and stuff like that. I made a lot of money, but at the end of the day, sometimes if you want to be creative and you want to make something, you can't ignore that instinct.
Right. Sure.
And I played poker for 2 years, and at the end of it, I was like, I haven't made anything. I haven't built anything. There's nothing to show. I have nothing to show for 2 years other than I made money, and I wasn't about that life. So
Right.
yeah.
I hear you. Camel Moon, thank you, brother. Yeah, we can definitely. The only time we've been together is in the wrestling ring.
Who won?
Well, it was myself, Camel, Cecil, and I haven't watched it in a long time. Well, actually, hold on here. I can tell you in a second. Let's see. Let's watch this.
The following contest is a fatal four-way match. Making his way to the ring from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Guys, there is so much intrigue here heading into this fatal four-way match. That's what you get, Michael, when you have 4 superstars who can legitimately win this thing.
From Pennsylvania, weighing in at 220 pounds, Kor-Drath. S.A. Rivera. From New York, weighing in at 220 pounds, C.
Flying forearm on the mark. Oh, using the knee as a weapon. In a bad way. Might have shaped too much for him. Anybody's match, Cole, but he's got to be playing in the ring all at the same time, anywhere they want. In a throwaway match, one thing with stipulation, it could be. We can also see a four-way tag finish down. 2.
Oh, look at that! There you go.
I love that show.
I know, dude. So do I.
Too, and I was watching it. So good.
That's
Even though
great.
I lost.
I know.
Oh, wow.
That's fun stuff. Hey, man, hang back. We're going to close out the show.
I was going to say we got a few things to cover. Make sure you guys, we were talking about building audiences, so some of you guys are new. Some of you are watching it on Andy's channel, which is the Andy Smith Comic Artist, so make sure you subscribe to his. My channel is the DNA, Dennis and Andy Show, so you can follow us on there. I just put the link down there. I do quick flips like YouTube Shorts on the new videos. We do full reviews. I just put together the Starship Enterprise Playmobil, 40 inches, fully electronic ship. Took me 3 hours, 150 pieces. It was fantastic. We put lots of that stuff up there, not to mention all the great comic stuff that we do. So make sure you subscribe to both of our channels so you get all of our information on Kor-Drath, The Reckoning.
That's right. And sign up. The link is pinned to the top. Everybody that signs up and backs it will get this limited edition Lilith trading card. Only if you sign up and back it will you get this. So do that. Of course, there's the cover. And we will be rocking a nice metal-looking T-shirt. So that'll be part of the campaign as well.
That looks rad. That's good.
Oh, yeah, and I forgot.
Yeah, show them the Bud cover.
And, of course, we've got our pal, our friend in town, Bud Root, did a nice cover for us, colored by Dan Lawless. So that'll be a variant cover on the campaign as well by Mr.
And the
Bud
man.
Root.
It's a hot piece, isn't it?
Yeah.
Keep it in your-
Sexy ladies.
Keep it in your,
Scary
keep it in
dragons.
your pants, Dennis. Good Lord.
Hey, it's good fantasy art. What can I say?
It is good fantasy art. All right, guys, until next time, let's see. What do we want to end with? Let's see. Where's that go? We'll end with this. All right, we'll see you guys next Wednesday. We'll have a guest. We'll figure it out later. Michael, hang back. Take
Live long and
care,
prosper.
everybody. Oh, 2 gang signs.
Woo!
Damn it.